Hey guys, it's your boy Wolfie. Now, I've been playing a ton of Tiny Tina's Wonderland. It's a really fun game and I'm enjoying it. I'm borderline addicted. But I didn't look up any information when I first started and kind of just played the game just to have that experience again. I kind of wish there were some things I knew or the game told or made more obvious that these things were happening. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you guys a few little tips that I wish I knew while I was playing the game for the first time. So number one thing, the most important thing on this list is those loot die you find while you're leveling are extremely important. They are not just loot to get while you're leveling. They will actually increase your loot luck. Every die you collect gives you an increased chance to find better gear, including at endgame. So if you didn't collect these loot dice while leveling, you're gonna have to go back and collect them by going to each part of the game. I think you can level an alt and find it that way. I'm not really 100% sure, but you're gonna have to go back and find them anyway. Yeah. I kind of wish the game kind of hammered that in how important these things were. It's easy to miss. Number two, the second most important thing I want to say is do not underestimate Purple Gun. We have this arbitrary thing in our brain that makes us immediately want to go towards the legendaries, but purple items that aren't really missing any extreme effect, like if you have a legendary class mod that has an effect that's only for that class mod, you might want to use the legendary just because the extra effect is so strong. But outside of that, for things like guns, you don't really lose much for using a purple weapon. They're actually insane. Some of the best weapons of the game are purple guns. The gun you see me using in the background, a little SMG, that's purple. That's not a legendary. So don't underestimate those guns. Experiment with stuff. You might have found the best weapon in the game and accidentally sold it. Sorry, I know I have. The next thing that's really important is enchants don't stack with each other. What I mean is the same enchants don't stack with each other. So if you're playing like a spell shot and you're getting increased 15% damage on spell cast, you can't put that on every single one of your gear and just have 15% per gear. It only casts once. But if you have different text on different weapons, they all cast at the same time. Basically, you want to make all the buffs and stuff that you have from using your action skill and your spells to be different on all your gear. Also, it depends on what you're equipped with. If you're using your guns that you're not actually holding don't actually count towards your buffs. So you don't have to worry about stacking those or changing those all around to have specific things. So it's pretty much your weapon, your melee weapon, your shield, and your spells. Those are the only things that you need to worry about for your enchants that have to be different. So 5 for a spell shot and 4 for everybody else. Cool. Next thing I want to talk about is class mods. Class mods don't randomly roll talents on them. They're kind of predetermined based on the kind of item it is. So you kind of just got to work with the ones that you have, but it's also encouraged to potentially use a class mod that the second class on it might not be the class that you're using. You're using it because it gives you a specific talent that increases your damage by a ton. You can see this in like that contagion build for Clawbringer, where they're Stabbomancer and a Clawbringer, and they're trying to get as many contagion as possible so they can do a lot of damage. These things, like, sometimes you're gonna use a class mod that's not the best, that you would think is the best, purely for that talent. One more thing about class mods, they change the look of your character. If you were wondering why your character kept changing over the course of the game, you had no idea. It's because of the class mod. That's all. Your class mod changes your character. It's pretty cool. The next thing I want to go into is Chaos Dungeons, which is the end game. Spoiler for anyone who doesn't know. This is what you do at the end of the game. You go into these Chaos Dungeons. They're kind of like a roguelike type of game. You clear a map, You get a buff, a debuff, loot, whatever it may be. You move to the next randomly generated map, randomly generated enemies with a randomly generated objective, and so on and so on. And then you go into a randomly generated boss. Cool. But the game kind of hints towards always taking the harder option because you're going to get more loot at the end, do the crystals, etc. Through experimenting and playing with the game, don't worry too much about it. In all honesty, like, you're not going to get that many more crystals always choosing the harder. I tested both. I went one where I went all the easy options. I went another one where I got all the hard options. The difference is like 500. Give or take, obviously, is RNG. You might even end up with more doing an easier run than you would on a hard run. I'm just saying, don't let it bother you too much. Don't take the ones that you feel like are going to make your character too weak. Make the run easy and just go for it, in my opinion. Don't let it like hinder you. Your best bet is to run as fast as run these chaos dungeons as fast as you can, because quantity usually produces quality in looter shooters, oddly enough. The next thing I want to say is I didn't know this. I had no idea about this. There's raid bosses in the chaos dungeons. Maybe I'm just dumb, but at the end of a run, of a specific level in the dungeons, it's usually random, unless you're in the featured run. There will be a rune right near the end of that specific map. So right around where the loot is, or the Dragon Lord, or Butt Stallion, there will be a rune somewhere around there that you can click. You have to do a little bit of a mini game, and when you complete it at the end of your chaos dungeon, there will be a red portal next to the gold portal. If you want to fight the raid bosses, you go into the red portal. Now, there's 3 different runes as far as I know, and there's 3 different bosses. If you proc all 3, you're gonna have to fight all 3 raid bosses simultaneously, one after the other. So until you know what you're doing, I'd highly suggest farming one at a time until you get comfortable, because they do have one-shot mechanics that are pretty difficult. But if you beat all 3 raid bosses, there's a secret 4th boss. I haven't fought it yet. I haven't been able to beat all 3 consecutively. I'm still working on that. Because I refuse to do it outside of Chaos 35. And they just have so much health in Chaos 35. But yeah, they're fun. You can do them. I haven't really gotten loot from them, but I definitely did get crystals from them. So you can increase your crystals by just going to the raid bosses. Outside of that, you don't really have to do them. They're kind of overtuned in my opinion, but they're fun to fight. All right, so the last important thing I want to bring up is basically make sure your gear works. Sometimes there's bugs in this game. Sometimes your gear is working better than it's supposed to, and sometimes it's just not working at all. I have a shield in this video that's supposed to give me 100% damage increase as long as I don't have any ward. Unfortunately, sometimes it bugs out while transitioning into new areas. So sometimes I have to unequip my shield and re-equip it just to make sure I'm getting the benefit again. It's hard to notice, especially when you're using SMGs, because it's just like, you don't really see the numbers, you just see damage going down. So, but every now and then I'll check it and make sure, because sometimes an enemy feels like it's just not taking any damage. And just re-equipped, and all of a sudden they die in 2 hits. It happens. It is what it is. But yeah, check online. Go on Reddit. Go on YouTube. See if your item or build works. Sometimes that's the only way to find out. There's a lot of hidden names and hidden words and stuff like that there's no way for you to find out. So you know what? Use your sources. Check online. Anyway, let me know if this video helped out, man. I hope you did. If you enjoyed it, maybe you'll drop a like. Maybe you'll comment on it. Maybe you'll let me know that I'm stupid. Maybe you'll let me know that you enjoyed the video. If you did, subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell. See me when I post more stuff. Anyway, you guys have a good one. Deuces.